Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chandrala Nathanapola. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I have been practicing as an immigration consultant for the last 10 years. And before coming to Canada, I was practicing as an attorney at law in Sri Lanka for over 30 years. We are at the moment. I'm working. I'm working with Lanka Immigration Services, and I work as a senior consultant to this. Working as senior consultant to this firm. I would be happy to work with Lanka Immigration Services as a senior consultant, and I have been offering my services to clients from Jaffna and also clients from Jaffna, Batticaloa, and Trincomalee, and all the other areas all the other areas in Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of my lecture is to give you a brief outline about the immigration process to Canada. Basically, there are 4 ways to come to Canada legally. Number 1 is person can immigrate permanently, and a person can come to Canada for the purpose of study and also for the purpose of work, and also a person can visit as a tourist or on business. So these are the only 4 ways in which a person can come to Canada legally. There are a number of ways in which a person can migrate to Canada on a permanent basis. Like, person can come to Canada as a permanent resident. First, I will deal with the federal skilled worker, and after that I will move on to the federal skilled trade, then the Canadian experience class, investor, entrepreneur and self-employed, family sponsorship, provincial nominee program, and live-in caregiver program, and also the refugee program. Currently there are 8 programs under which a person can migrate to Canada as a permanent resident. Firstly, you can migrate to Canada as a federal skilled worker, federal skilled trade class, Canadian experience class, investor, entrepreneur and self-employed class, and as a family sponsorship class, provincial nominee program, live-in caregiver, and as a refugee. These are the ways in which a person can migrate to Canada as a permanent resident. Firstly, I will deal with the federal skilled worker class, which is a very important class. People from world over come as permanent residents under this class. So under the federal skilled worker class, there is a basic eligibility. Basic eligibility is person should have 1 year of full-time paid work experience within the last 10 years, or that person should have a valid offer of employment, or be an international student enrolled in a PhD program. These are the basic eligibility. There are 3 requirements. Either you must have a 1 year of experience within the last 10 years, and also have a valid offer of employment, or be an international student enrolled for a PhD program. In addition to the basic eligibility, a person should satisfy the minimum requirements. The minimum requirements are that 1 year work experience has to be in an eligible occupation, and also in a skill level AOP occupation. So under this program, Federal Skilled Worker Program, which is FSW, under this program there are 50 eligible occupations. So people who have 1 year of paid experience in any of these eligible categories are eligible to come to Canada. In addition to having 1 year experience within the last 10 years, and person should comply with the English language requirement. According to the Canadian regulations, the English language requirement is CLB, Canadian Language Benchmark 7. CLB 7 is equivalent to IELTS General, and person should have 6 for all four skill areas. As I explained to you, what is most important is that you must have 1 year of work experience in an eligible occupation, and also your English language requirement, that is passing IELTS examination. These are the two important things. In addition to that, your education level is also very important. So those who have a PhD or master's degree will get about 25 marks. Those who have bachelor's degree will be eligible to get about 23 marks. So like that, depending on your education and qualifications, you will stand a better chance. So at the moment, currently there are 6 selection factors. One is you are given marks for education, for language, and for work experience, and age, and arranged employment, and adaptability. So each of these areas, depending on the level of your experience, depending on the level of your education, you will be given a certain mark. If you reach the score of 67, then you will pass the Federal Skilled Worker Program test. So anyone who can get 67 or higher is eligible to come to Canada as permanent resident. With regard to Federal Skilled Worker details, my friend Prabha will explain to you in detail about the categories, about the eligible categories, and as well as the detailed requirements he will speak on in Tamil. Then there's a very important area of, people who are living in Canada, they can sponsor their relatives in Sri Lanka under the family sponsorship program. Under the family sponsorship program, who are eligible to be sponsored? That is spouse or common law partner, dependent children, parents and grandparents, orphans, children to be adopted, and a relative of the sponsor. They are eligible to be sponsored by a Canadian permanent resident or a Canadian citizen. Under the family sponsorship program, the sponsor has to comply with certain requirements. So his eligibility to be a sponsor, there are several factors. He must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, and he should be over 18 years of age. And also he must give an undertaking to provide financial assistance to the sponsored person. The most important thing is the PR or the Canadian citizen. He must have the minimum income level for sponsoring a relative. So ladies and gentlemen, the next most important area is the study. In order to study in Canada, student must obtain a study permit from the Canadian authorities. For the purpose of study permit, you must have a letter of admission from a university or a college. There are about 125 universities in Canada and 138 colleges offering more than 10,000 degree level programs. So first of all, if a student wants to come to Canada, he must write to a university or he must write to a college and get a letter of admission on the basis of his qualification. So in this process, we as immigration consultants, we can help you for you to get the letter of admission from a university or a college. For the study permit, the important document is the acceptance letter from a university or a college. And also that you must have sufficient funds to pay for your school fees at least for 1 year. And also you should prove that you have sufficient income from Sri Lanka to pay for your school, pay for your tuition fees, and also pay for your living expenses at least for a period of 1 year. In addition to that, people who are coming to Canada as students, they will have to obtain health insurance cover at least for a period of 1 year. International students, if you come to Canada as an international student, you will be eligible to work 20 hours per week during your study period, and also you can work full time during summer holidays. After completion of your program, you will get a postgraduate work permit program. So this is a very interesting program. Upon completion of your studies, you will be eligible to get a postgraduate work permit depending on the duration of your study. If your study duration is 2 years or over, you will get a 3 years of postgraduate work permit. With the postgraduate work permit program, you are eligible to work, as I said, you are eligible to work say 3 years or more, depending on the duration of your program. When you get work experience as a postgraduate under the work permit program, when you get experience 3 years or more, then you will be eligible to apply for permanent residence either under the provisional nominee program or under the Canadian experience class. So there is an opportunity, those who cannot come to Canada under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, there's an opportunity for them to come to Canada as a student and work for some time after your studies, then apply for the permanent residence. So that is a window of opportunity for any students in Sri Lanka who want ultimately become a permanent resident in Canada. And then there's an interesting program called Parent and Grandparent Super Visa. As ladies and gentlemen, under the sponsorship program, Canadian permanent resident or a citizen can sponsor their parents in Sri Lanka or any other country. But this process takes a long time, and also at a time there are restrictions and limitations. Now, for instance, for the year 2014, the immigration authorities had accepting only 5,000 applications world over. Now this 5,000 limit has reached in a matter of 3 weeks. So therefore, anyone who is willing to get their parents down to Canada, anyone who is living in Sri Lanka, if you want to see their children or grandchildren in Canada, so they have to apply for a visa under the parent or grandparent visa program, super visa program. To be eligible to get a visa under the super visa program, the child or the grandchild in Canada must show that he has a certain minimum income level. And also he must give an undertaking that he will provide financial support to the parent during their stay in Canada. The parent or the grandparent who is applying for the visa must go for a medical examination. After passing the medical examination and also after substantiating that they have a child or a grandchild in Canada, they will be eligible to get the super visa. And the most important documents under the super visa program is the medical the medical insurance coverage. Parent or a grandparent who is coming to Canada under this program, they must get a medical insurance coverage at least for a period of 1 year, covering their medical condition. So the super visa program, the visa is given for 10 years, and the person coming to Canada under the super visa program, they can stay in Canada up to 2 years at a time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is all what I have to say at the moment. So this is basically a very brief introduction to the immigration process, and the details will be explained to you in Tamil by my friend Prabha, who is the Managing Director of Lanka Immigration Services. And I would once again be happy to be associated with you, and I wish you good luck. And if you do have any questions or concerns, and please do not hesitate to write to Lanka Immigration Services. They will be able to help you. They will be able to provide you with immigration services, which I am aware that very cost effective and very professional. Thank you very much.